Welcome back to our channel where we share updates and untold stories about Catherine, Princess of Wales and her royal family. Today we bring you some news. Camilla caught off guard as Prince Louis drops truth bomb at Christmas. Crowd silenced. The Royal Foundation is blown away by Prince Louis's Christmas comment, which he described as a child's candor and a queen's composure. The carefully crafted royal etiquette was shattered by an unplanned 6-year-old moment of honesty that occurred in the sacred darkened corridors of Westminster Abbey, an institution that is used to the weight of coronations and the seriousness of state funerals. Prince Louis, the youngest child of the Prince and Princess of Wales and the uncontested court jester of the House of Windsor, made a single surprising statement about his step-grandmother, Queen Camilla, that sent a perceptible tremor through the gathering family. The incident, occurring during the Princess of Wales's annual Together at Christmas Carol service, was a rare and public crack in the monarchy's polished facade, leaving a nation to ponder whether it was merely the unfiltered remark of a child or a glimpse into the complex, often unspoken dynamics that simmer beneath the surface of the world's most famous family. As a result of the impact from this short encounter, a firestorm of public debate has been unleashed, and the royal family is now being forced to manage the sensitive confluence of private ties and public image. The concerns that have been lingering in the minds of royal watchers for a long time have been brought into the forefront as the palace struggles to deal with the consequences. These questions include: what is the actual nature of the connection between Queen Camilla and the children of the late Princess Diana? In what ways does the legacy of a turbulent past continue to have an impact on the future of the monarch of the United Kingdom? This single moment of candor may have inadvertently become Prince Louis's most significant public act to date. It is a testament to the profound truth that even within the gilded cage of royalty, the unfiltered voice of a child can be the most powerful force of all. Prince Louis is a boy whose playful energy has brought joy to millions of people. Formation of an identity in the eyes of the public. The process of becoming a royal rascal. In order to comprehend the seriousness of the Christmas event, it is necessary to get familiar with the phenomenon that is Prince Louis Arthur Charles of Wales beforehand. He seemed to be destined to carve out a special place for himself inside the rigorous framework of the monarchy from the minute he was born on April 23, 2018 to the present day. His birth took place at St. Mary's Hospital in London on a beautiful spring morning, and his entrance was greeted with the typical pomp and ceremony that is due for a new royal. Gun salutes boomed throughout the city, church bells pealed, and a country collectively cooed over the newest member to the Windsor family. His name, which was selected by Prince William and Princess Kate with much deliberation, was a rich tapestry of historical and family importance. Lord Louis Mountbatten, a towering role in the history of the royal family, was honored with the film Louis, which paid tribute to the cherished great-uncle of King Charles III. He was given the name Arthur by both his father and his grandfather, making it a traditional and recurrent royal name. The song Charles was a heartfelt and straightforward homage to his grandpa, who was the Prince of Wales at the time. It was impossible for anybody to have anticipated the overwhelming power of personality that the young prince would bring to the name, despite the fact that it held the weight of history. His baptism was placed on July 9, 2018, in the Chapel Royal at St. James's Palace, and it was during this event when early flashes of his personality occurred. Even though it was a royal event in every sense of the word, the family photos that were taken on that day exuded a sense of warmth and familiarity that royal watchers have learned to appreciate. At the same time as he was surrounded by his elder brothers Prince George and Princess Charlotte, the relationship that was developing between the three children of Wales was already apparent. Throughout the course of Louis's development from a newborn to a toddler, it became plainly evident that he was not the kind of person to go into the background. It would be an understatement to say that his public debuts were stunning. At his debut appearance on the Buckingham Palace balcony, which was during the 2019 Trooping the Colour, He waved with an unfettered, joyful excitement that quickly captivated the hearts of the audience. The fact that even the most junior members of the royal family could command the limelight was shown by the fact that his large eyes and energetic movements made him an immediate celebrity. It was precisely situations like this that solidified his growing image as the cheekiest member of the family. His upbringing was a carefully managed combination of royal duty and family closeness, and it took place deep behind the walls of the palace. William and Kate tried hard to maintain some sense of normalcy in their life, despite the unusual circumstances that they were experiencing. This was especially true throughout his formative years in Kensington Palace and at Anmer Hall, the family's hideaway in Norfolk, which they used. Activities such as gardening, baking, and playing outside with his brothers were some of the basic pleasures that Louis enjoyed throughout his boyhood. As a result of Kate's hands-on parenting approach, which has garnered widespread acclaim for its emphasis on emotional development and outdoor activities, her children were fortunate enough to have an upbringing that was as grounded as possible within the realm of the royal family. The years in question were those in which his relationships with George and Charlotte became more stable. When it came to observing George, who was the oldest and the heir to the kingdom, was often the more restrained and contemplative option. Charlotte, on the other hand, rapidly accepted her position as the self-assured and authoritative elder sister role. Charlotte demonstrated that she was a formidable and caring sister, whether she was directing Louis on public engagements or handling his shenanigans with a tolerance that belied her young age. On the other hand, Louis's energetic disposition often resulted in the typical arguments that occur between siblings. One of the most memorable moments that took place at a Christmas carol session was when he made a humorous effort to blow out Charlotte's candle. This resulted in a short but harsh sisterly gaze that pleased those who were watching. There was a crucial turning point in 2021 when the child started attending Wilcox Nursery School. The official portrait that was issued on his first day, which showed him smiling to the camera while carrying a backpack on his shoulders, was an excellent representation of his inquisitive and daring personality. On the other hand, life in the Wales home was not devoid of complications or challenges. Despite the fact that they were high-profile personalities, they managed to handle the relentless scrutiny of public life while protecting their children from the worst view of it. A significant change took place in 2022 when the family moved to Adelaide Cottage on the Windsor estate. They were looking for more solitude and space for their children who were reaching their teenage years at the time. When Louis moved to Lambrook School, an exclusive preparatory school in Berkshire, he joined George and Charlotte there. This relocation occurred at the same time as Louis' transition to Lambrook School. The transfer marked the beginning of a new Chapter 1 that would have a significant impact on their schooling, as well as the ties they had with their siblings in a more isolated setting. In spite of the fact that Louis provided his family an incredible amount of happiness and charm in the background, astute watchers were silently observing a fascinating dynamic: his relationships with Queen Camilla. In spite of the fact that the young prince looked to have a strong connection with his maternal grandparents Carol and Michael Middleton, and even his grandfather King Charles, his relationship with his step-grandmother appeared to be more equivocal. Did it just result from the fact that they had different schedules and had minimal contact with one another? Or did it hint to something more complicated? Only a few indications were provided by public appearances. A fleeting moment of intimacy between Camilla and Louis that left royal observers wondering about the nature of their relationship occurred on Christmas Day when Camilla was spotted gently escorting Louis up the route from Sandringham to church. In contrast to Louis's customary shows of love, which are normally overflowing, the conversations seemed to be more restrained. The irrepressible charisma and obvious charm that Louis had continued to earn him thousands of supporters, despite the fact that these subtle undercurrents were there. During the festivities of Queen Elizabeth II's Platinum Jubilee in 2022, his passionate reactions became an instant phenomenon on the internet. In addition to participating in amusing pranks, he proved that royal duty could still be imbued with joy. He did this by dramatically covering his ears during the flypast. The combination of mischief and innocent attractiveness that he had made him a figure that stood out even among the stars that were present in the Windsor firmament. The fascination that the people had with Louis went beyond the pranks that he played. His popularity was based on his genuineness, which is a trait that is uncommon and refreshing in the realm of monarchy, which is often staged. The sheer realism of the situation, on the other hand, would finally result in a moment of shocking discovery, the kind of revelation that would have the country talking for weeks to come. The unspoken dynamic, a complexity that has been left behind. As the year 2023 passed, Prince Louis steadily established himself as the youngest and most vibrant member of the royal family. He began to relax into his job. Despite the fact that his age prevented him from making public appearances, people anxiously awaited his visits. The general public was aware that whenever Louis went anywhere, there was certain to be an element of unpredictability that followed him. This may be a mischievous gesture, an uncensored expression of passion, or a moment of pure, unadulterated honesty. However, as his personality became more clear, the subtleties of his relationships with particular members of his family, most notably Queen Camilla, also became more apparent. A long and laborious route had been traversed by Camilla in order to get at her position within the monarchy. By that time, she had already established herself as queen consort. It is a credit to her tenacity and determination that she transitioned from being a contentious character to a senior princess who is respected. On the other hand, inside the close confines of the family, her ties continued to be a matter of discreet suspicion, notably with Prince William, and by extension, his children. Louis's conduct seemed to be more natural, and as a result more revealing than that of George and Charlotte, who were constantly seen to be nice and friendly with Mom in public. The connection that Louis had with Camilla was strikingly different from the bonds that he had with other members of his family. In his relationship with his grandfather, King Charles III, he had a bond that was clearly warm and genuine. Whether he was educating his grandkids about the need of conservation or entertaining them with stories from royal history, Charles, who was well known for his passion for the outdoors and the art of storytelling, allegedly enjoyed spending time with his grandchildren. It seems that Louis, with his unlimited energy and inquisitive intellect, flourished in these exchanges. A picture of a doting grandpa and his energetic grandson was created by photographs and anecdotal stories of their time spent together. The function that Camilla played in Louis's life, on the other hand, seemed to be less clear. Observers noticed that there was a conspicuous absence of public expressions of love, as well as a manner of interacting that often seemed to be more formal than family. It was impossible to disregard the visual evidence, despite the fact that this was not a story that was promoted by any official source. There was a noticeable, if unsaid, gap between Camilla and Louis as a result of the contrast between their more restrained manner and Louis's raucous temperament. This dynamic did not emerge out of thin air. Rather, it was firmly entrenched in the long-standing conflicts that existed between Prince William and Queen Camilla, who remain married. Insiders have long hinted at the underlying intricacy of their relationship, despite the fact that they seemed to have a polite relationship in public. William continued to be influenced by the memories of his mother, Princess Diana, which remained a significant and defining force. There were scars that for many people had never entirely healed, and the sad public story of his parents' marriage breakup and Camilla's involvement within it had both of these elements. In spite of the fact that William had pragmatically accepted Camilla's role in his father's life, and subsequently in the monarchy, their interactions were often regarded as being more obedient than really warm. Despite the fact that Louis was too young to fully appreciate the historical significance of this family drama, it is quite possible that he was impacted by the emotional milieu that was there. The capacity of children to perceive unspoken tensions and subtle variations in behavior is remarkable. Children are able to sense these things. Considering that Louis was a youngster who was both perceptive and expressive, It was not out of the question to assume that he unconsciously sensed a distinct energy in his contacts with Camilla in comparison to those with other members of his family. Nevertheless, there were short moments that hinted at the possibility of a tighter relationship between the two of them. Camilla was seen putting a soft touch on Lewis's back as they were out on a Christmas stroll in Sandringham. She was facilitating his forward movement. The small gesture was examined by royal watchers who debated whether it was a sign of a growing bond or if it was merely a practical act of grandmotherly care. The questions remained in the background, waiting for a spark that would push them to the forefront of the conversation. It would be Lewis's own guileless disposition that would serve as the trigger. His honesty was a clean and unadulterated expression of his views, since he was not burdened by the weight of etiquette and diplomatic finesse. There was little question that his vivacious nature would eventually come into conflict with the complex web of royal ties, resulting in a moment that would forever be ingrained in the collective consciousness of the nation. During the Christmas season, a single sentence was spoken at Westminster Abbey. The carol service, known as Together at Christmas, which was initiated by the Princess of Wales, has become into a revered event in the royal calendar in a short amount of time. It is a meticulously orchestrated ceremony that combines high formality with emotional Christmas warmth, and it is aimed to portray the royal family in its most gracious and unified state. The mood was one of respectful celebration, a wonderful picture of Christmas joy as the gentle light of candles lit the Gothic arches of Westminster Abbey. The ambiance was exquisite. A second time, Prince Louis would steal the show without even realizing it, and this time it would be in this peaceful atmosphere. Louis walked proudly between his parents as the Wales family made their entry. He was holding a card for the kindness tree activity in his hand. George and Charlotte, his siblings, were always the most experienced young royals, and they carried their cards with the blank side facing outward. This was done to keep their secret notes from being seen by anybody who may read them. However, Louis, in the manner that is characteristic of his open-heartedness, lifted his message high for everyone to see. His smile was contagious, and it was a genuine manifestation of the delight that a youngster feels at being a part of an event of such tremendous significance. The statement that was written on Louis's card was straightforward and profoundly moving. It was written in the adorable and somewhat shaky writing of a 6-year-old boy. The inscription read, "Thank you for Granny and Grandpa because they have played games with me." This homage was an obvious and affectionate gesture to his maternal grandparents, Carol and Michael Middleton. The strong and personal contact that they have with the children of Wales has been a source of stability and warmth for a very long time. It has been a grounding factor in the midst of the chaos that is royal life. As a pleasant insight into the private life of the family, the emotion brought smiles to the cheeks of everyone who saw it. Nevertheless, even at this tender moment, some who are more perceptive noticed that Queen Camilla's name was not spoken. It is possible that the adults would have considered this omission to be nothing more than a simple oversight made by a youngster. To a youngster like Louis, however, decisions are often a direct reflection of the experiences they have had. It was stated that a close visitor in a playful moment of fun asked the young prince why his other grandma wasn't on his list of people to thank. This caused the matter to become more serious. Instantaneously and unambiguously, Louis articulated his response with the unvarnished honesty that can only be found in a kid. His voice, which was just barely audible, was able to penetrate over the background noise of the abbey. "This woman is lying." The unexpected, almost hilarious stop in the discussions that were taking place around them heightened the impact of the two words that lingered in the air. After a brief period of calm, the soft rustling of service programs grew so loud that it was deafening. Over the course of that single second, the carefully built illusion of peace inside the family broke apart. The sweet grin that the Princess of Wales was wearing began to weaken, and her hand automatically came to rest on Louis's shoulder. She seemed to be experiencing a mixture of shock and great anxiety as her face flashed. With his mouth clenched, Prince William, who was standing rigidly next to her, cast a fleeting look in Camilla's direction for no apparent reason. While she was in the middle of a sentence, Queen Camilla, who had been having a discussion a few feet away, became silent. As she tilted her head slightly in the direction of the young prince, a grin that was composed of tightness and tension appeared on her lips. Although she maintained an impressive level of control, there was a little glimpse of pain seen in her eyes for a brief period. Louis elaborated, his voice filled with the sincere confidence of a youngster presenting an indisputable truth. He was unaware of the seismic effect that his words would have. When I got to her room, she shouted at me to leave since I was annoying her. She had informed me that she would play games with me, but I went to her room anyhow. The atmosphere in the room, which had been filled with the soft hum of carols and peaceful talk only a few minutes before, was suddenly electric with tension that was not speaking. It was a raw, unfiltered family drama that was being played out in real time, and the audience was completely intrigued by it. In the royal family, a raw nerve was uncovered as a result of a statement that turned out to be completely harmless. The ever-diplomatic and protective mother, Kate, stooped down to Louis's level and murmured something softly into his ear. Her countenance softened as she did so. Instantaneously, she had a mother instinct to calm down the situation. William, on the other hand, kept his tight stance, his countenance remaining an expression of stoicism, despite the fact that it was obviously a challenging and unpleasant occasion. The quickness with which Queen Camilla rallied from her illness was very remarkable, given she is a seasoned royal. Despite the fact that the statement must have caused her to experience inner struggle, she returned her attention to the discussion at hand, her outward appearance completely restored. The atmosphere of the evening, however, had irreparably changed for those individuals who had been there throughout the conversation. The otherwise picture-perfect celebration had been marred by a shadow that had been thrown over it. By the time the next morning rolled around, the rumors about the event had escalated into a roar. What had started out as a private family moment had turned into a public spectacle, and the words that Prince Louis had said became the topic of considerable conjecture. The media scrutinized every aspect of the conversation, from Louis's tone to Camilla's response, since they were always eager to get a peek of what was going on behind the scenes. A strong reminder that even in the most regulated of situations, the raw reality of a child's viewpoint may break procedure. The occurrence was both surprising and oddly familiar to the general population. It was a poignant reminder that the whole thing happened. The royal family was forced to address not just the public's image of their ties, but also the basic dynamics that produced them. This was a turning point that forced them to confront the public. The royal fallout, discovering how to deal with the consequences of a child's truth. During the days that followed the Christmas carol service, the royal family did what it does best. It continued with its ordinary activities. In the public eye, the machine that is the monarchy maintained its unrelenting cycle of engagements, appearances, and charity activities. However, the aftershocks of Prince Louis's forthright statements resonated through the hallways of the palace in a private setting. For a family that takes great care to maintain a positive public image, this unfiltered moment offered a challenge that was both unique and difficult to overcome. Rapid and diverse responses were received from the media. The headlines of the tabloids shouted with a combination of fun and intrigue, "Louis the Lionheart." More serious broadsheets and royal reporters participated in further analysis, presenting the episode as a crucial moment of understanding. And "A Prince's Honesty Leaves Royals Reeling" were two examples of the kind of articles that were published. It was no longer just a piece of royal gossip. It had become a cultural touchstone, a prism through which to view the current monarchy. Articles argued what Prince Louis's words truly reveal about Camilla's role, and the enduring shadow of Diana. The event was no longer simply a piece of royal gossip. Keeping the situation under control and re-establishing balance were the key goals of the operation within the palace. Having endured decades of rigorous public examination, Queen Camilla was not ready to be publicly undone by the statement of a child who was only 6 years old. According to those close to the Queen, she was saddened by the statement, But she knew the nature of children and did not hold it against Louis. This was despite the fact that she was privately grieving over the comment. In spite of this, the event acted as a jarring reminder of the ever-present precariousness of her position within the context of the family dynamic. However, her link to William's children was obviously still in the process of developing, which is a reality that has now been brought to the attention of the whole world. Her tie with King Charles was unbreakable. The position was a minefield for the Prince and Princess of Wales, both in terms of their professional and parental responsibilities. Kate, who was well known for her promotion of early childhood development and emotionally open parenting, was suddenly confronted with the public ramifications of the philosophy for which she had advocated. With Louis, she and William had a private talk, during which they gently explained the significance of compassion and the difference between public and private interactions. It is known that this conversation had place. The way in which they approached the situation, on the other hand, brought to light a fundamental contradiction of their roles: how to bring up children who are genuine and emotionally sophisticated, while also teaching them how to traverse the rigorous and sometimes merciless procedures of royal life. According to other reports, William's response was more convoluted. From the beginning, his relationship with Camilla has been a tricky balancing act between his obligations and his personal background. The memories of his mother, Princess Diana, as well as the ideals of emotional honesty and compassion that she passed down to her children, are virtues that he has endeavored to impart in his own children. Interestingly, Louis's outburst was an expression of that same instruction. It was a weird coincidence. Nevertheless, the friction that ensued with his stepmother and the public spectacle that it produced put him in an extremely precarious situation. He was stuck between the necessity to maintain stability within the existing monarchical framework and the need to remain faithful to the legacy that his passing mother had left behind. While the new year was only getting started, the royal family made it a priority to present an image of harmony. In order to communicate stability and a feeling of common purpose, King Charles III and Queen Camilla redoubled their public obligations. Their combined appearances were aimed to convey this sense of purpose. There were no indications that a deliberate attempt was being made to close the deficit. Those who follow the royal family have seen a tiny rise in the number of carefully planned picture opportunities that feature Camilla with the children of Wales. However, the interactions between the two of them continue to be noticeably more formal than those with their other grandparents. Once again, the Middleton family demonstrated their position as an indispensable anchor. A haven of normalcy was offered by Carol and Michael Middleton, who were at the center of Louis's heartfelt expression of devotion. For a very long time, their residence in Bucklebury has served as a safe haven for the children of Wales. It is a location where royal titles diminish and are replaced by the straightforward pleasures of family life. In this setting, Louis was able to let himself to be himself, away from the demands and scrutiny that come with being in the limelight as a royal household. A moment of deep relatability was created for the general public as a result of the tragedy. The raw and often harsh honesty of a small kid was acknowledged by millions of parents and grandparents over their respective generations. There was an outpouring of admiration on social media for the little prince's bravery, with many observers praising William and Kate for raising a youngster who was not scared to speak his views. Additionally, it rekindled discussions on the legacy of Princess Diana, with many individuals seeing Louis's openness as a continuation of her spirit at this time. One of the unintended consequences of the incident was that it tapped into a larger cultural yearning for authenticity from public institutions. Many people get the impression that the royal family is unapproachable and mysterious in this day and age of well-regulated social media and polished public relations. There was no planned interaction that could ever be able to humanize them in the way that the simple words of a 6-year-old could. It was an indication of the monarchy's healthy growth, according to those who supported the monarchy. It served as a reminder to critics of the inherent dysfunction that the existence of a family that is compelled to live its life as a public show entails. His life rapidly reverted to its usual schedule, which consisted of going to school, playing, and going on trips with his family. It is most probable that the Christmas episode was a brief memory, a little blip in a childhood that was absolutely full of delight. Despite this, his one-of-a-kind status inside the family was firmly established. Because he is the youngest of the Wales siblings, he is the one who is free-spirited and the emotional barometer. His genuineness is a perfect complement to George's calm dignity and Charlotte's self-assured leadership. In their collective capacity, the three siblings constitute a new generation of royalty, with each of them bringing a distinctive character to the continuous narrative of the family. Throughout the years to come, it is quite probable that Prince Louis's most distinguishing quality will continue to be his honesty. He has already established himself as an engaging and approachable character, whether it is via his humorous responses at state occasions or his honest statements that he makes off the cuff. It is possible that he has the capacity to provide a new and crucial viewpoint to the monarchy as it continues to expand because of his ability to be unabashedly himself even in the most formal of circumstances. Even though it was just for a brief period, the Christmas bombshell left an unforgettable impression. It served as a reminder to the royal family and the rest of the world that they are actual people who are navigating the complexities of their emotions and relationships beneath the titles and traditions. And at the heart of it all was a young prince whose honesty, which was far from being a defect, became a shining example of genuineness in a society that far too often places a higher value on appearance than it does on the truth. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts and goodbye for now.